All right, it is Tuesday night. Yes, we are a little bit late, but it's another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. I'm Mike. That's Wes. Wes, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm in my new area now, so we got the new setup going here. We'll see how well it works tonight, being on Wi-Fi instead of lined in. But everything seems to be going okay. Our test went all right, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, new setup, new little man cave for you to have fun down in, I guess.
Yep,
That was a little bit of an interesting week.
good weekend. I mean,
Something some things went the way that we thought they were going to. Some didn't quite go the way that we thought they were going to. But overall, seems like a pretty good weekend for the conference. And it seems like there are teams that are now that we're a few weeks into it, teams are surprising us in the good way, and teams are surprising us in the bad way.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely some teams I think we are that where we thought they would be. Couple, a little bit of surprises here and there, but I think it's still kind of early to tell. It'll be interesting to see how they continue to play in the long season that is college hockey.
Yeah, and I think the non-conference schedule, that's always we talk about it a bunch. We don't know really anything about most of the other teams, unless for myself, Minnesota teams kind of paying attention to what they do and hearing about it within the state. But we won't really know until conference play starts. That's when the real test will come, and we'll see where teams are.
Yeah, I mean, no reason to crown anybody yet, as could be said. It's a little too early to be anointing champions here, but I think the big thing that we saw this weekend, at least from the Western Michigan standpoint, is just how important some of these transfer guys are and filling in spots that they were kind of hoping they would fill or were expected to fill as they came in. But honestly, a good showing from a lot of the transfers into the NCHC, or at least among the NCHC.
Yeah, the transfer players so far, at least on a few teams, have been a pretty integral part of their teams. Western, UMD, and North Dakota as well. All three of those teams have had transfer players come in and play a huge role already in their seasons. 3 weeks in.
Yeah, I went through and I've got all the numbers for all the transfer guys. Um, we know that Colorado College had a transfer goalie who hasn't played yet, and they had one skater who had entered the transfer portal before actually deciding to just come back or stay at Colorado College. So they don't have anybody really to make note of just yet. Denver had zero incoming transfers. Miami had one, two, three, four, five guys, three of which have found the stat sheet already. Spencer Cox has 3 assists for 3 points. Ryan Sullivan, a goal, 2 assists for 3 points. And Braden Morrison has 1 assist for 1 point. Your Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs had two guys come in: Luke Bast, who has already scored 2 goals, and Connor McMenamin, who has 2 goals and 2 assists. So some production there. Omaha also has a little bit of production, not quite as much as a Western team. I think Western may have gotten the most out of their transfers, but Omaha has a goalie in Seth Isley, I think is how we're going to say that. Iseli, who has picked up a win in the game he started. Noah Ellis is yet to record a point yet. Jesse Lansdale has a goal. Dominic Vidoli has a goal. Zach Erdahl has a goal and an assist. North Dakota also getting quite a bit of production because we knew they were really heavy on the transfer portal. Garrett Pike has 2 assists. Hunter Johannes has 3 goals. Keaton Pearson, who I believe left Saturday's game, has 1 goal and an assist, or has 1 assist for 1 point. Cameron Berg, who transferred from Omaha to North Dakota, has a goal, 2 assists. And Logan Brett, who I believe was put into the lineup Saturday for potentially another missing player, has 1 assist. And then, the big transfer there at North Dakota being Ludwig Persson, who has 3 wins, a loss, and a shutout win, which I think was over Wisconsin last weekend. He's split this week with the top-ranked Minnesota team, which, if anything, I thought that maybe the top teams in the non-conference that North Dakota was going to play, like Minnesota, were going to be a little bit of a challenge to him. And they were the first night. I mean, it was a pretty lopsided game in favor of Minnesota on Friday night. Close shutting out North Dakota to have, I think, like a 2-game shutout streak, which was ended Saturday night. But, I mean, Ludwig stayed in there. He played decent. Things got a little squirrely at the end of the game. I think that kind of goes to show, some of the difficulties that North Dakota could have with a completely new defensive front that we expected. But everybody responded great Saturday and ended up being I think a 2-1 win for North Dakota to split the weekend with, at the time, was the top ranked team in the country.
Yeah, and I did not see any of Friday's games, which we were just talking about before this, where I'll have to carve out some time to just kind of watch them back, even though I know the scores. But we were talking Saturday's game, and North Dakota looked really good. They looked like they responded really, really well. And for to do that against a team as stacked as Minnesota is, even though they did lose a bunch of players after last year, they they played so solidly and didn't really give Minnesota much to work with. So I think that's kind of what they're hoping. You'd said Friday they didn't look very good, but from what I saw, North Dakota looked really, really good in that game. So hopefully for Ludwig, that's more of what he gets, because then he can show off his goalie skills instead of facing 97 shots per night like he was in Miami.
Right. A team that's struggling a little bit, kind of surprising, St. Cloud State. They have 2 transfers that came in: Carl Falk, who has yet to record a point as of yet, and Nick Ports, who has 1 goal, 1 assist. And then, like I said, Western really getting the most out of their 4 forward recruits who were trying to replace that exceptional top line that was McAllister, Sasson, and Poland from last year. Ethan Phillips, he's 5-1-6 already on the season. Joe Cassetti picked up his first goal, I believe, Friday night on the season. He's 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. Matteo Constantini from North Dakota, he picked up his first goal Saturday night. He's got 2 assists for 3 total points. And then previous guest on the show, Sam Coangelo, he's at 5 goals now, scoring in the last 3 games. Had a hat trick Saturday night, and to go along with 2 assists for 7 total points. So offensive production doesn't seem like it's going to be much of an issue here for the Broncos getting things done. And in fact, the scoring's a little more spread out. I think Phillips is on the same line with Luke Granger and what's his name? Hildebrand. And then Coangelo is I believe on the second line right now. So definitely getting production out of more than just one line, which we kind of saw last year too. They were an extremely deep team, and they're getting that, and it's from guys who they were hoping were going to do that as they came into the conference and as part of this team. So hopefully that continues throughout the year.
And I think with Sam and him getting the production that he's getting, that's why he chose Western. That was, he had seen, and we've talked about it before too. He had seen what Ethan did, and he saw what Jason did, and for him, this was his opportunity to get to the level of what 70% of his teammates from the World Juniors team that are in the NHL and having that production. So yeah, Western is benefiting the most, but I also do think they probably had the most talented group coming in.
And the thing about Western too is like they're getting this offensive production and building these guys, and they're not the same type of player. Like Ethan is not the
No,
same type of player that Jason Poland was. Poland's not the same type of player that Ethan Phillips or Sam Coangelo are. But they're still all benefiting from the coaching style that Western has and from the type of play that Western plays. And really, to be successful in the Western system, you have to be a 200-foot guy because the defense is allowed to jump in whenever they feel comfortable. And it's as a forward, you have to account for that and be aware that a defenseman may be low in the offensive zone, and so someone's got to cover the backside, or there may be a way for the team to break out a little easier, and someone's got to get back and cover it in the defensive zone. So I mean, like they're asking a lot of these guys, but we've seen that it produces great players throughout the season, and being a 200-foot player was what made Ethan Frank so impressive and Jason Poland so impressive that they were responsible in their defensive zone. And then they could go in the offensive side and put up 25 plus goals in a season. Ethan had, I think, 26, 27, somewhere in that area. And Jason
mm-hmm.
had 30 last year. And we're already seeing guys 2 series in, 4 games in. And we got 2 guys with 5 goals apiece who just transferred in. So, I mean, I like it, but at the same time, like I do kind of, and we did see some improvement in the defensive zone. Each game, only 2 goals were given up, and it wasn't really like Cam had a lot of chance at either goal. Bowling Green State made some really good plays to put the puck in a position where Cam couldn't get to it and beat him. And I think one was a tip that really kind of bounced in front, and he was playing where the shot should have been, and it deflected past him, and really not much you could do on that one. And then the second one from Saturday was literally just a great pass to a player in a position to beat him. So not like you're not really blaming the goals on Cam at that point, but and the defense played a lot better, limiting opportunities. But like I said, the strongest defense for the Western team is to really control the pace of the game by being heavy in the offensive zone, which they're really really good at, and just making smart plays with the puck and not necessarily cheating on the defensive side, but being aware and being able to collapse on guys trying to break out with the puck and just being smart with, neutral zone gap responsibilities and playing intelligently, and the defense being aware that of when the opportunity arises that it's okay to jump in on a play, but when they also have to be smart and back check. So we're seeing some improvement, and it'll be interesting to see where Western goes. They have the weekend off this week, so a chance to work on some stuff. I might go see some former players who are playing in the ECHL here in Kalamazoo now on Friday night at least. So I'll still get to see some Western guys play some puck. It just won't be at Lawson this weekend.
Yeah, the K Wings seems like they're taking a page out of the Ottawa Senators book and
Dude,
just
there are
taking Western players.
There are 5 Western players in the Vancouver system. Sheldon Dries, Max Sasson are still playing with Abbotsford, and then Jason Poland, or not Jason Poland, he's with Colorado. Josh Basalt, Mikey Joyal, and Ty Glover are all currently on loan from Abbotsford back to the Kalamazoo Wings. So some boys who are familiar with the area and all appeared on the score sheet last weekend for Kalamazoo. So getting comfortable back in on the other side of town here.
All right, shall we dive into the games from this past week? I do know you have a play, so we'll probably save that series for last and just kind of go through. Maybe we'll just go in alphabetical order from as far as the schools go. I don't know. I don't know how you want to do it.
Let's go. Let's see what the schedule looks like on the composite schedule on NCHC.com.
Yep, that's what I have.
And we'll just go top
because
to
it's
bottom
all
on there.
jacked up. It's all jacked up because of times and stuff.
Yeah, so just go whatever it says top to bottom on there.
Okay, we'll go top to bottom then. So we'll start with the Denver against Providence. And Denver did lose. That is a game that I correctly chose. I thought they were going to lose. They lose 4-3 because they're on the East Coast. Did not see any of that.
I think
So
it might have been on ESPN Plus, and I
I
didn't
think
watch.
that one, it was either that one or their Saturday game against BC. And I
Saturday
don't
was for
remember
sure
which one.
because I watched part of Saturday's game.
Yeah, so then I think it was Saturday. I don't think the Providence game was on ESPN Plus. I think BC has something with ESPN.
But I wasn't gonna watch that one anyway because I was at the I was listening to the Western game in the car trying to get my daughter to go to sleep because she was sick all weekend.
Mm.
So that's where I
So
was.
yeah, so we really have nothing to comment. 4-3 looks like a close game. I mean, we weren't able to watch that one. Western, well, we'll just go series by series, I guess then. Because that might be easiest. So Denver ends up splitting on the weekend. They lose 4-3, but then they beat BC 4-3 to get the split. Wes, you had them sweeping the weekend. I had them losing Friday and winning Saturday. Not much else we can say about that. Western Michigan is the second game on Friday. They end up sweeping the weekend, both games by a score of 5-2.
Yeah, the Friday game, I believe they had 2 empty net goals. Um, and really, I mean, it was a pretty solid game. Western controlled a lot of it, at least based on what the radio call was. Um, again, we were getting some really good production out of those transfer guys, but some returning players also. Dylan Went had 2 goals that game. Luke Ranger had 2 assists and a goal. Um, Joe, like I said, got his first goal in that Friday game. Sam scored a goal for his back-to-back games to get to number 2 on the season, and then he had that big hat trick Saturday night. And Saturday, I wish you could see time of possession in college hockey. For whatever reason, it's not a stat that they track for college hockey, but it's such an important stat that I think like it should be something that's tracked. Western did a little bit better of a job staying out of penalty trouble, which was kind of a big thing against Ferris that second game up in Ferris that allowed them to get back in that game and go to overtime. They only took they took 3 penalties total. One for roughing, which was offset, too many players, and then a trip. I mean, not only 2 power plays for Bowling Green, they were able to kill both of them off. They went 0 for 1 on the power play. Not a pretty clean game, really. It didn't seem like the refs were trying to lean one way or the other. And I think Saturday's game was pretty much pretty similar. There might have been a few more. The NCHC refs might have been a little bit heavier with the whistle.
It seems like they tend to be
Oh no,
a
only
little heavier.
a few more called, but still only 3 power plays. Bowling Green once again had 2. They scored on one of them. Western went 0 for 1 again on the power play. A couple offsetting penalties late, like 4 seconds left in the game. Not a lot going on there. Another set of offsetting penalties in the second period, and then one in the first, a penalty apiece in the second period, and then the offsettings in the second and third period. So it seemed like they were calling it pretty loose, unless it was an egregious penalty or some nonsense that took too long to figure out. But overall, and Saturday was really the game that I think, knowing the time of possession or time on attack stat, would really tell you more about the game than a score of 5-2 would, or even, if you look at the shots on goal, they might tell you a little bit. It was 47-16 in favor of Western, limiting them to less than 10 shots per period. But again, you put 2 on the board just because of lucky bounces, or you get the puck in the right spot. So things like that don't necessarily tell you the whole story of the game. And I think knowing the time on attack would show you just how dominant of an effort it was, aside from the 47 shots on goal that Western really played.
I'm kind of curious now. I think I have the dude's name um, down somewhere, but I actually I play trivia on Wednesday nights with a referee of the CCHA. So I wonder if he was assigned to that game on Friday night out in Bowling Green. But just kind of I've talked with him a little bit and just kind of see how they do it versus it. Like you said, the NCHC officials seem a little bit heavier on the whistle. I was halfway distracted and not really paying attention to what you were saying because I was trying to see if I could figure out his name. Uh, but it'd be interesting to see how different conferences officiate. And shoot, I could probably just ask him, "Hey, you want to come on this podcast?" And then we can talk with an official.
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. But while we're on this game, and while we were talking about transfer guys, I do want to highlight one of the plays made by Ethan Phillips. So let me do this so that you can see it first. I want to go to this one so that everybody else can see the play. So it's a 2-2 game, 6:18 left. It's 4-on-4. Western's going to score on this play, but it's really before the play as they're setting up in the offensive zone. So I started it in the defensive zone to kind of see the 4-on-4 breakout, and Western carries a ton of speed in the neutral zone. But really keep an eye once he hits the ice on Phillips. Where is he? Oh, no, it's the cover. Hang on. Where are we?
And for us non-Western Michigan fans,
He's going to be number
his
29.
is there we go.
I was going to point him out. Calm down. Where the hell is my mouse? Okay, it's over there now. Now it's over here. Okay. Is he out there yet? No, he's not. Okay, so they're going to come back out and then they're going to break in again.
Not gonna lie, I really like those Bowling Green jerseys.
The Browns colors?
They're less puke color than the Browns.
Where is he? Where is he? Oh, it might have been too far again. So he should be coming here. I think it's on this next change. He enters the zone. Yep, here he should be coming in. There's Berger on the ice now. Hillebrand, 29. He's way over here.
Yep, there he is in the corner.
So watch him work the corner and then watch him just take laps around the goalie, distracting defensemen, like as he's handling. So he handles the puck, but watch him play without the puck. That's really what the point I'm trying to make here is. Yeah, he does end up with the puck quite a few times on his stick, making smart plays, trying to find the open ice, dropping it off. But just watch him keep moving and distract. Like he takes this defender's eyes multiple times. Here he is without the puck around the back of the net, scoots in and taps the puck by skating in between the defender and the goalkeeper. Here he goes again. He goes around and he cheats and comes right between the goalie to tip the puck to the right between the post and the goalie's pad. And it's just his play without the puck. He reminds me of like a point guard or a shooting guard in basketball. I don't watch a ton of basketball, but the little bit that I do, like a guy playing off the ball, creating space for himself, creating lanes. Like here's from the opposite side. You really see it here. Just him get that stick down and tap it straight off the goalie's pad into narrow post there.
And that I think that's a huge thing. Like you have to play without the puck and find that open space. A lot of guys that unless you have a shot like OV where you can just sit in one particular spot and just know you're going to score every time. a lot of the really good goal scorers, they're finding that open space. They're constantly moving back and forth, making those laps, doing all those things. And that's how you're going to get your goals. Like, you don't have to have the best shot in the world, but if you're finding those open spaces, your teammates are going to find you and you're going to get those chances.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it reminds me of like the way, for this will show you how little my basketball knowledge is, but like the '04 Pistons was a team that I actually watched because they won the championship, and I watched the championship run. But like Rip Hamilton would play without the ball 90% of the time he was in the offensive zone, and it would just be that like off the off the pick, he'd like swing around the baseline, open for a jump, like a mid lane jumper, and like that's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the motion that Ethan's skating with, and like just circling the net and just drawing the one defender closest to the goalie's eyes, just like keeping him not 100% engaged in the play at the top of the ice, and then instead of skating wide on that player, he skates in between the goaltender and that defender because he knows there's room there and he can get there and he can get his stick on the ice and tip that puck home and pick up an incredible deflection goal.
Yeah, and that's an offense that, like, in basketball is just called motion offense. It's screen down, screen away, and you're constantly moving and just trying to get that open space, because if you're constantly moving, that means all the defenders are worried about the pass. That's where hockey and basketball are very similar, because if you're constantly moving, you're going to have an open shot. That's that's the way that it goes. So that's basically just the motion offense. He's just doing it on his own
Yeah.
and skating around, but still within the structure of what they're trying to do. Um, okay, let's see. What's the next one on the list? The next one on the list, I believe. Yep, it is my Bulldogs.
Your
And they
Bulldogs
get a
were
4-0.
impressive
Oh,
this
go ahead.
weekend. They
Hmm?
impressed me a little bit this weekend. I honestly thought it was going to be um, a little bit closer of a Friday game, more kind of what we got the Saturday game. But I did think that the home team was going to uh, win both of those. But they came out and really closed that game at the end and battled hard to earn the sweep and 100% deserved it both nights. I did catch some of these after I got home from the Western game.
Yeah, I did. I think I caught the last little bit of the Friday game. Um, didn't catch any of the Saturday game, but I think what's impressed me the most about this team so far is the offense. Last year, it was a combination of lack of offense and lack of goaltending, and I did think Saturday was going to be a little bit more difficult just playing in Bemidji. It's kind of like playing in Mullet Arena for an NHL team. Not a very big rink, not a very fancy rink from what I know. Uh, but I mean, we scored 9 goals on the weekend. That was something that last year's team didn't do. And they seem a little bit more solid defensively. The goaltending is still suspect, because from the games that I've watched, there are goals that you just can't let go in. It's just like no way they should go in. Um, but so far this team has given me a little bit more optimism than last year's team in what I've seen, especially with the offense and then the transfers, like Luke Bast coming in, scoring 2 goals. I didn't really think he was an offensive powerhouse, but hey, he's got 2 goals. And then Ben Steves has been just unbelievable so far to start this year. He picked up right where he left off. He's scoring goals. He's getting assists. This team, I'm happy with the offense. I just think they need to tighten it up a little bit more defensively because you shut a team out one night and then you give up four. Well, I think you should maybe give up two, tighten things up, get a little bit better goaltending. And now I'm way more optimistic than I was to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think their big thing is one, they got to stay out of the penalty box. They had five. They gave up 5 power plays on Saturday. Most of those being in the first period. They came back in the middle. I mean, they scored 4 straight goals, but they didn't really close the game out because Bemidji State scores 2 goals with roughly under 10 minutes left in the game um, to tie it. So, I mean, closing out games is going to be something that I think lends credence to your defensive woes and your goaltending struggles. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just those crunch time moments. Uh, shots were pretty close, 38-30 on Saturday. Um, but again, it's just the small things. It's the things like too many players on the ice, or the timing of penalties as much as the penalty you're taking. Not putting your
Yeah.
goalies in a position where they have more stress when they're already under whatever stress they're under. So things like that can still be cleaned up. And there's a lot of, but I do think there's a lot of bright spots on this Duluth team that we haven't necessarily seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Ever since that 2019-2020 season, uh I do think they could have three-peated. Uh I but that's coulda, shoulda, woulda, everything happened. And then like you said, the last couple of years have been a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a down couple of years. But yeah, so far so good. I'm just being a Minnesota sports fan.
I mean, they're 3-0-2.
I
It's not like they're off to a bad start. They haven't lost a game.
yeah,
Lost. So
I still, Minnesota sports fans, we even last night I was like, all right, how are we going to screw this up in the Monday Night Football game? So optimistic, but cautiously optimistic with this team. Then we have probably we touched on it earlier, the biggest series I think of the weekend between Minnesota and North Dakota.
yeah, and the Friday game, the score doesn't dictate how close this game actually was because they end up scoring 2 goals in about 20 seconds, with 3 minutes left in the third period. So just at the very end of the game, they get two more past Ludwig, who had played a pretty solid game. I mean, he stopped 28 of 32 shots. So up until that point, you take those 2 goals away, that's a pretty solid night, 26 of 28, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I think that's kind of what we expected the kind of the game to be like maybe close, but just the scoring ability of a better cohesive unit that I think Minnesota is versus North Dakota. Again, the score doesn't necessarily dictate the whole story of the game. It was a much closer game than I think the score says. But I wasn't expecting Ludwig to come out and be completely lights out either. He's a goalie who has had moments, whether that's completely because of the defense in front of him or just him thinking he has to do too much, and he's been lit up a few times by some really good scoring teams. So I was expecting Minnesota to give him a little bit of an issue. They did, but again, the entire team responded great and played a really good game Saturday, and ended up splitting 2-1. Like I said, I think that's kind of more indicative of the game that we got. Both teams are 3-1. North Dakota made a pretty good jump in the standings. I think they're at like 4 or 5 now. Minnesota stayed at 1. Really, kind of the first time we've seen the number one team, I think, stay at number one in quite some time. They usually drop a little bit, but again, another battle. I mean, North Dakota put up 34 shots. They held Minnesota to only 22 shots. So much improved on the defensive side, but it'll be interesting to see how long that lasts, if they can sustain that type of defense. And a big part of that was the fact that they did have 6 power plays, even though they didn't score on it. 12 minutes man down is a lot of time to rack up some shots and to build on and wear a team down a little bit.
That Saturday game, the amount of penalties that were called, my God. I think it was like the second period, they might have had 2 minutes of 5-on-5 time. At least that's what it seemed. I mean, there was just penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. It was like,
They're only showing 3.
come on, guys. I don't know what period. Maybe it was the third, but it just seemed like
It was 3, 3, and 2 for the periods.
really.
Yeah.
It
And,
seemed like it was just.
and there
It
might have just
seemed
been a
like it
lot of
was more.
stoppage. I mean, it might have just been
Yeah, it could have been a lot of
whistles and
stoppage, but um,
there were only 8
the-
total call, or at least 8 total power plays, but I don't see many that were offsetting either. There was a late one in the first.
maybe it was just like the timing of it.
Yeah, something.
Whatever, but it seemed like there was more than.
Again, I had a lot of games on
It seemed
mute
like
just
more.
because I couldn't listen to everybody talking, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of the announcers in the NCHC. Now that being said, I will say that North Dakota may have one of the better ones because he also does the CBS Sports announcing in Alex.
Yeah, I
Um,
do think that's they do a really good job in their broadcasts, and then St. Cloud, other than the fact that Gino Parrish can't get over the fact that the net keeps coming off, uh,
fix the damn
they
net
do a
then.
good job. But what I was gonna say is North Dakota definitely played a better game on Saturday, and they just looked clean, and they didn't give the Gophers a chance to actually use their talent and their speed. They closed everything off. Uh, they took advantage of the opportunities that they had, and they didn't let the Gophers take advantage. And that's huge for North Dakota. And I think it's huge for their defense to respond like they did on Saturday. I know it's still going to be that question with all the transfers and having that whole new defensive core. But if you can hold a team like Minnesota, as much as I don't like saying it, uh, to one goal in a game, then you have a chance, and that's going to build their confidence for North Dakota and that defensive core. And then they'll be like, okay, yeah, we have a solid goalie. We just got to make sure that he's not put in a compromising situation. So I think that Saturday win for North Dakota was really huge for that whole team.
Yeah, and again, I think it'll be interesting to see how well North Dakota does once it gets into conference play, because this conference beats the hell out of itself, and you're
Mm-hmm.
they're playing teams that all know how to play Ludwig Pearson. He's not a surprise. I mean, he'll be a surprise to some teams in the non-conference schedule, um, but he's not going to be a surprise to Denver or Western or Minnesota, Duluth. Like, these are teams that have put up decent numbers against Ludwig and know how to beat him, and he knows how to play against them too. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see just where that goes, and if it's a similar situation to what we saw last year with St. Cloud and Dominic Bassi. Now, he was splitting time last year, and so that may have helped them a little bit. And I think Ludwig's going to get the majority, of, if not all of the starts there in North Dakota until either something happens or he gets spelled for a part of a game because they're getting blown up or whatever.
Yeah, I think all the teams know him. I think the part that scares me is he knows all the teams as well, and we typically have not done so well against him. um, so he has that, and he just has even with them being transfers and everything, I think he still has a more talented defensive core in front of him and a more talented team than he had in Miami. So
Oh yeah.
I for certain teams, yeah, he got blown up by certain teams, but he also had certain teams number, even with not such a great team in front of him. So I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm really not looking forward to us playing North Dakota because it goes both ways. He knows our tendencies. We know his. I think the advantage goes to him, but we'll see. We'll see how what shakes out during conference play. Enough with that one. St. Cloud State, they were kind of back on the wagon, and then they fell off again. 4-1 win against Fairbanks, and then a 5-2 loss
Yeah,
at home.
I don't know what the deal is with St. Cloud State. Like I said, I don't know if it's, if we're seeing Bassie kind of regress a little bit because I think he's gotten all of the starts so far, and he was splitting time last year with Castor, so the preparing for two goalies thing. But I think, most teams are just going to say that they're just preparing to play their way, and they're not necessarily worried about the team on the other end of the ice. But it's not like St. Cloud. I mean, yes, they lost some important pieces, but I believe they got Cronulla back. They got Okabe back. Um, some
There,
of their bigger offensive production guys, I believe, came back, and it's not the team I was expecting to see, really.
no, and we talked about it with the names that they had coming back when we did their roster and schedule.
Kyler Kupka, Zach Okabe, who I mentioned. I know maybe they don't have. They have Josh Ledke back, Mittenen, who played really well last year, especially in the playoff games.
Yeah, it
Um, they did lose. Um,
lost.
Micah
Shoot.
Miller
Yep.
uh,
I was like the kid from Rapids. I know his name. I couldn't think of.
and then the first
Uh,
one of the other guys I
Crook,
mentioned. They lost
Crookshank.
Crookshanks, but I mean they got Molinar back. There's a lot. A Coin was back. A Sean was back. Some big names that I think produced extremely well last year, and they got decent goaltending. I mean, I don't know that goaltending is slipping all that much, and like,
Other than workload, I don't see it. You know, I mean, they know what they have in goaltending. I think they're just getting off to a slow start, which it can happen, but that it, like yes, it can happen, but it doesn't help you in trying to make the NCAA tournament.
yeah,
Because right now, what they're doing is they're just putting themselves in a position where they need to win the NCHC. They need to win the they need to win the frozen face off.
yeah. I mean, you can't win the national title in week 1 or week 2, but you can definitely put yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit and have to depend more so on your conference schedule, which is no easy task in the NCHC. Granted, the top 4 teams may make the NCAA tournament, but you also have to play semi decent in your non-conference schedule. I mean, how many times have we seen that be the bug against Nebraska Omaha?
Mm-hmm.
They haven't scheduled a tough enough non-conference schedule, and they might sweep the non-conference schedule, but then they don't play completely or like well enough in the during the conference play to get over that hump and get one of those at-large bids. Whereas
Yeah,
I don't necessarily see or St. Cloud scheduling easy. They're just not winning games we think they should win, and they're going to have to do more in conference play and be one of those top 2-3 teams in the conference to have a shot at an at-large bid, unless they win the conference tournament, which they're more than capable of doing. They did last year from the four seed.
yeah, I would say right now they're the most confusing team as to what we expected. Um, they have all the talent there. Yes, they were the 4 seed last year, but last year pretty much 1 through 4 could have gone any which way. And then 5 through 8 could have gone any which way. There was that gap there. So they have the talent. They did lose guys, but they still are returning a whole bunch of players from last year. I just don't I can't figure out how they're losing these games. And
Unless they're just getting complacent and overlooking things, but I don't think Larson's the type of coach to really let them do that.
no, and he was an assistant at UMD um for national championship teams. Like he knows what it takes to win. So I think it's just guys getting off to a slow start, and it in a sense I'm kind of happy about it because that helps us, but
Unless you guys end up in that 4 or 5
it,
matchup again, which the winner of the Frozen Face-Off has come from the last 2 years, so it may not be a bad spot to have to beat up on each other one more time.
it it it, it wouldn't be the worst thing because again that's how rivalries grow, but I just I'm so confused because we both had St. Cloud as a high finisher, and even their non-conference, like you said, they're playing teams that yeah they're going to be tough, but they're games that they should beat. They're not like an Omaha who finished third last year, um, but played basically cupcakes in their non-conference. Uh, I just think the way that they're setting themselves up right now, they're going to need to win because yeah, you're playing tough schools, but you're not winning any of these games hardly. Like you're getting swept, you're splitting. I think they're going to have to do more.
Honestly, like if we go back to our preseason rankings, like I would have to switch North Dakota and St. Cloud right now, the way they're playing.
Yeah, North Dakota is playing really, really well. St. Cloud, they're playing like Miami.
Like legitimately, I think if we were to do like a power rankings, and maybe we'll look into it for starting next week or something, but I would think the number one team in the conference right now, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, is North Dakota. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
and they're 3-1. Western's 3-0-1, but I think North Dakota's played a better team in Minnesota State, or in Minnesota. Yes, they got shut out 4-0, but again, I don't know that that score was indicative of the way they played that game. Um, Denver, I think, would be maybe Western's 2. Um,
I think it'd be a toss up between Denver and
Denver and
Western
Western, I
for
think
the
you could put
two.
them either
Yeah.
2 or 3. Those kind of they share 2. Um, 3, I think, is
Uh,
Colorado College, which I think we were kind of expecting them to be a little bit higher up there.
I'd probably put um my Bulldogs just below them, like or just above CC, below Denver and Western. I think I'd put my Bulldogs for. Uh, even though they have gone to overtime, I think that's what I would do. But Colorado College, right
Who
in that mix too.
did Colorado play? Let me look at the schedule while we do this kind of on the fly.
Uh,
You had one
Union.
game against North. Yeah, you know what? I will put your Duluth Bulldogs 4 and Colorado College 5. I think Colorado College
Hmm.
has had a little bit easier of a schedule.
Yep,
But that
that's
being
exactly
said,
it.
they did what they needed to do. I mean, they smacked Union with 13 goals on a weekend, giving up
Yes,
5.
they did.
Um, Duluth has played some closer games, but I think some better opponents. Maybe the only thing going against Duluth is that you guys have played one less game.
Yeah, because we had the one off against Tech, Michigan Tech.
And then probably, six. We got 6, 7, and 8. Omaha maybe 7 or 8 because they swept Niagara. They didn't play last week or this last weekend. But I would say Miami beat a better team in Canisius, and they didn't play this weekend either, so they're kind of like tied for 7th. And no
Yeah,
one's really in 8th. And then, you know, St. Cloud would actually, you know what? St. Cloud's 8th. I think St. Cloud has been enough of a disappointment. They lost to St. Thomas. They lost to Alaska. I think right now you have to put them at the bottom. They have 2 losses. They have the most losses of any team in the conference that I can think of.
and against you know Alaska, we learned last year that they're a pretty good team.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but and St. Thomas, yes, they are much improved. Like they are not a bad team, but it's still St. Thomas.
Yeah, I mean they have
Uh,
a 5-4 overtime loss to St. Thomas and then a 1-0 win against St. Thomas. Like I mean, the 2 losses hurts them is really and I think you have to put them below even the teams that haven't played the same number of games. You're technically
yep.
if it were baseball rules, you're a game behind because you lost to 2 games when the other teams weren't playing.
And I think I got into it with some Gopher fans because I mean, they needed overtime to beat St. Thomas, and people are people are like, well, St. Thomas is a better team than they were. I'm like, yeah, but if you are the team that you're supposed to be, and especially number one in the nation, then
Yeah.
you steamroll them.
Yeah.
And St. Cloud,
Actually St.
if
Cloud
they're the
has
if they're the team that we think that they are and that they have been, they should steamroll them. Now, I'm not saying 14 to nothing or anything like that, but you know, 4-0, 5-1, and not really close.
actually St. Cloud State has 4 losses. They are definitely the number 8 team. They also got swept by Minnesota State.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did get swept by the Mavericks.
So yeah, they have to be the number 8 team if we were doing like a power ranking. Granted, we're doing it on the fly and kind of making it up as we go, but
Yeah.
they have to be. They have 4 losses on the year already. They're 2-4.
Yep. There's no disagreement here. Um so
So
it's actually kind
One North
of
Dakota, 2 uh tie between Denver and Western. Um maybe I put Denver slightly ahead just because I put Western slightly ahead because they have the tie against Ferris State and Denver has the straight loss to Providence, but Providence proved to be a pretty decent team. Um,
mhm,
Duluth at 4, even though
just
because they
based
have
off of
2
strength of schedule.
strength of schedule, 2 ties in
Yep.
there. Um, Colorado College at 5. Let's see. Omaha played
I think let's see.
Niagara. Is that the only team they played so far is Niagara? And
No, they did. Oh, maybe it
they
is.
had the exhibition game against Minnesota State that they won 1-0. Yeah, I do not see them on the calendar as having
Yeah,
played
I don't
another
either.
series yet.
So,
So
but I'd still probably put them at 6. They swept a series, and then I mean they put up 10 goals, and then they,
Miami split with.
as we've learned, Mankato is a pretty good
No,
pretty good team.
I'll put
So,
Miami 6, Omaha 7, because they've only played Niagara. We don't have a lot of information out on them. Miami has a split and a sweep, and then St. Cloud State's 8.
yep.
Like,
The only different, I would put Omaha at 6, Miami 7, and then St. Cloud 8. Um,
I think both opponents that Miami
just
has played though are better than the one Niagara team that Omaha played, even though they smoked them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Ferris is a little bit better. They
yeah.
you know l- lost and tied Western. Canisius is better than Niagara. Miami swept them clean. I mean, 4-1 both night, or 4-2 and 4-1. So Miami's on a little bit of a rise, not too much. I leave them at 6 for right now. Yeah, and on the fly ranking from Goalhorns and Fight Songs.
Um, so
Oh, and then the last
back,
series on the weekend.
yeah, I was gonna say, last series of the weekend, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but Colorado College took care of Long Island 4-2 and 3-2, um, which was to be expected. I think that was a little bit closer than our expectations were,
Dude,
but
that Saturday game was chippy. It looked like it was going to come down to the
but
buzzer. I mean, it kind of did come down to the buzzer.
but yeah, so Colorado College gets a sweep, and just to run through, let me pull up my notes again because I've been looking stuff up. Um, I went 8-4 at the Denver sweep, the Western sweep, or no, not Denver sweep. Denver losing Friday, winning Saturday, Western sweep, UMD winning Friday, losing Saturday, North Dakota winning Friday, losing Saturday. So that brought me to 5-3 on the week. St. Cloud winning or sweeping, and I went 1-1, and then Colorado College sweeping. So that was 8-4. Wes, you had Denver sweeping, so 1-1, Western sweeping 3-1, UMD winning Friday, losing Saturday, uh, which that brought you to 4-2, being 1-1 for that one. North Dakota losing Friday, winning Saturday. That 6-2. St. Cloud winning Friday, losing Saturday, 8-2, and then Colorado College sweeping 10-2. So that brings us to you passing me now. I was a game ahead. Now I am a game behind. I am 19-14, and you are in 20-13.
Take it every day of the week there, buddy. Whoop, whoop. It's a good spot to be in. Yeah, most of those were just lucky ass picks because I really did not know that Western was gonna pull that out. I was kind of expecting them to lose Friday, to be 100% honest. But I always gotta. I'm not gonna pick them to sweep every week. I swear to God.
All right. So,
This week I got it up here. We'll go
yep.
in time, schedule by time. So we've got Minnesota Duluth flying out to New York to take on Cornell. That is a 7 o'clock start Eastern time, both Friday and Saturday. I have no idea what Cornell looks like, how they've played. I don't even know what conference they're in.
I think they are in, I, I believe they're in the ECAC,
They
but
are.
I can start on this one. We were able to sweep them at home last year, and I think we sweep them out in New York this year as well, especially with how our offense has been. I think we cleaned some things up defensively. There is a risk of us losing the Friday game, just with the travel and everything, but I think UMD sweeps.
They have played 2 exhibition games, and that's it. They played Toronto Metropolitan and won 6-1. And then last Saturday, they went to overtime on a 5-4 win against the U.S. National Development Under 18 team. And they're playing the 11th ranked Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. I will concur that it should be a sweep for Duluth. If it is not, I'll never pick your team to sweep again. I'll tell you that. No, that's not true. I might.
Well, we're not good at sweeping teams, but that it just feels like that's the optimist in me right now with the team. Um, it could change, but I feel like we should sweep that game, or that series. Next up we have Arizona State,
On a,
future NCHC.
they're starting their half schedule of NCHC teams.
Yep, in Miami.
They are coming in on a 4-game, technically a 5-game winning streak. They had the exhibition against Arizona where they mud stomped a Division 2 team 16-0 to start the year. They have also then swept Merrimack 1-0 in overtime 4-2, swept a Northern Michigan team 3-2 and 5-1. Miami, they're playing a little bit better. It'll be an interesting matchup, like I said, with future conference opponents.
It was Arizona State that swept Northern Michigan.
Yeah,
or Miami. Oh, okay.
The Miami's 2-2. They split. No, they're 3-1. They split with Ferris and swept Canisius. So both teams coming in on a winning streak. I don't know a lot about Arizona State yet, other than what I'm seeing right now. They're 4-1 or 4-0. They generally finish out at or they have finished out at being 50-50 for most of the years that they've been around. Their leading scorer has you have a stupid roster like freaking St. Cloud State does. I hate when you people do it like this.
What do you mean, you people?
Well, St. Cloud State and apparently freaking Arizona State with your weird, like every other school has like the exact same layout for their athletic page, and theirs is dumb. Or it does this weird PDF thing that nobody likes. Their highest goal scorer has 3 goals. Their point leader has 5 points with 5 assists. So not the most offensive team in the country. 13 goals scored to 5. I mean, they're playing some good defense. They've only allowed 5 goals. I'm gonna go with. I'm making this up as I look at it. I want it to be a split, but I don't know who's gonna win what game. Miami wins Friday. Arizona State wins Saturday.
Miami Friday, Saturday. I have Miami losing, and getting swept, especially with Arizona State playing Northern Michigan. Saw Northern Michigan play against my Bulldogs. They're a good team. I just don't think Miami has the talent and skill level to compete with the Sun Devils based off of what they've done. So that is why I am having the Red Hawks getting swept.
It probably makes sense, but I think Miami has something to prove, and this being a future conference opponent, I think they're going to want to put their stamp on at least one of these games. But I think they kind of blow their wad early on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and so the Arizona bounces back and takes the Saturday game. Minnesota State at North Dakota, 7 o'clock Eastern or Central times
Central.
Friday, 6 o'clock Central Saturday. I think North Dakota is going to be a little hungover. And Minnesota State is playing a lot better than I thought they were going to be with all the change they had. I think they come in, they're kind of riding that series high of beating St. Cloud State. They just got swept by UMass though, so they're looking to turn it around a little bit. Um, North Dakota's got a target on their back, being the number 4 team in the country, and again, I think they're going to be a little bit hungover from that big win. There's a big rivalry game or series.
Mm-hmm.
A big win for North Dakota, big win for Ludwig Person. I think Minnesota could come in and steal the Friday game. So I'm going to go Minnesota State Friday, North Dakota Saturday. They're going to split.
That's exactly how I have it. And kind of for the similar kind of for similar reasons. Um, I think they are going to be a little hungover from that win, but I just think I could see this as a sweep for Mankato, and they are a much better team than we all thought with that mass exodus that they had. Um, but I think North Dakota's going to get punched in the mouth on Friday, and they're going to lose, and then Saturday they're going to come back and respond basically what they did this past weekend against the Gophers. Um, you know, close game, but they lose. They come back, they tighten things up. It's going to be hard for Mankato to do anything. So, yeah, I'm with you. Mankato win on Friday and North Dakota win on Saturday.
All right, so we got a split. Well, we got some weird times here for the next 3, but we'll go Ohio State at Omaha, 7:07 Central Time start, both Friday and Saturday. Ohio State coming off of a loss and a tie with Michigan. Omaha coming off of not having played. I feel like Ohio State's the better team here.
If it makes you feel any better, I have zero idea. Like
Ohio State made the tournament last year. They're playing pretty they played pretty decent. I hate that stupid notification that randomly pops up. Sorry about anybody who's listening on headphones because that blew my ear out.
Oh, it didn't blow my ear out, so we're good.
But again, Omaha's not really got going yet, but they're playing decent. I hate Ohio State just for the fact that I live in Michigan. I'm not necessarily the biggest. I'm definitely not a fan of Michigan hockey. I grew up a Michigan football fan, but I've stopped since caring about them.
That's I get crap. People are like, "Well, why don't you go for hockey?" I'm like, "Because I'm a Bulldog fan." But you like them for basketball and football? I'm like, yes, because they're the only Division 1 team in our state.
Yeah.
Technically, well, not anymore technically, but
The Battle of the O's. I'm gonna say they split. Screw it. Omaha loses Friday. I think they have some rust to shake off, but they will snap back and win Saturday. So they can each have an L and they can each have a dub, and they both have stupid logos.
well,
But Omaha is bringing back the bull, so good for them.
I will, because I literally have no idea on this one. I will just go the exact opposite of you, and that is my analysis. Because I
You know,
I need to make up a game, and
this chair is not comfortable. Way to really Pat
who
McAfee
cares
that one. All right.
if it gets me
Actually, I think
however many
he
millions of dollars.
he would really just take the same pick just so that he couldn't lose potentially on the picking. Um, then we got a little Texas tornado match going on in
Nice.
Colorado. Night one, both games start at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Uh, Augustana travels to Denver. That's gonna be a Denver win. Can we just, I don't know what Augustana has just yet. It's their first year in
Well,
Division One hockey.
yeah, I was gonna say nobody does. They don't even know what they have.
I think it's gonna be those welcome to. It's gonna be one of those welcome to D1 hockey games that we usually see in a team's first year. And Denver is not a team to take anybody lightly. I think they like beating up on the little sister of the poor type teams.
Like St. Cloud did with St. Thomas their first game.
Their first couple of years, yeah. Uh, and then Colorado and Air Force, they go to battle at Air Force. Also a 7 o'clock Mountain Time start. I think they split last year, if I remember right. I think Colorado's college is much improved since they met last year. That defense seems to be playing much better again. I think they've carried that over. Um, some teams have seemed to have maybe caught on to Umberto a little bit. Not necessarily 100% sure on that yet, just because he's still, the non-conference schedule is not as indicative of what teams know about each other yet. Um, but I'm going to go Colorado College over Air Force. And then Saturday, those games, or both games start at 6 o'clock Mountain Time with Augustana and Air Force switching dance partners. So it'll be Augustana at Colorado College and Air Force at Denver. Um, and both Colorado NCHC teams picking up sweeps, as I think Colorado College will also beat Augustana and Denver will also beat Air Force.
Yeah, I think
Even though I think Air Force got a big win this year.
they might have but I have it the same way. Augustana is not going to win either of their games. Um they're
Now they beat Michigan State. They split with Alaska Anchorage. They split with Michigan State, and they split with Lindenwood. Yeah, nope, nope.
yeah, it's then definitely I already had it typed in, but um Augustana, they don't know what they have. They're kids that are getting an opportunity to play Division 1 hockey that same thing with St. Thomas. They're kind of and Lindenwood. They're kind of the runts of the litter. They they might be good enough to play Division 1 hockey, but they weren't good enough to make a roster. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um so they're building that program. I think they're actually building an arena, which I don't know why they are because they have a great arena at what's that called? I've seen concerts there before.
couldn't tell you.
But in Sioux Falls, like but regardless, um, they're just trying to figure it out, and they're the kids that, yes, you are good enough to play Division 1 hockey, but you're not the top tier recruits. Kind of like St. Thomas was when they came in. They did a whole rebuild making sure that guys were able to do it, but you're still the runts of the litter. Um, Air Force, we talked about it. I believe it was last week because didn't somebody play Army last week? 2 weeks ago. Um, somebody played Army.
I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted by Twitter because one of the Seattle Kraken literally threw his stick at the puck and did not get called for a
Oh,
penalty.
North Dakota. North
Yeah, North
Dakota
Dakota
played
smacked
Army.
Army.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's they're gonna give you a fight, and I think Air Force is a better service academy team than, especially with the altitude, but they're a better service academy team than Army is.
I mean, they have to
They're gonna
travel
get
every freaking weekend because they play in the ACHC or the
Atlantic
Atlantic.
hockey.
Yeah,
Yeah. But they're well conditioned. They're tough. You the thing is you don't go to these service academies for athletics.
no.
You do it to be a leader of our armed forces. And um they're just playing teams that the kids go there for hockey. Um you listen to any former hockey players that have played college hockey when they're like, we went to school for hockey. We didn't go to school for school. We went to school for hockey. Um, so I have both Colorado teams as far as Denver and Colorado College, since obviously Air Force is also Colorado. Um, I have them both winning and sweeping the weekend.
That's
So maybe I can make up one game in our Omaha one, but it looks like, well, and then Miami. I have Miami getting swept, but otherwise we're pretty similar.
come on, Miami. That's the first time, only time I'll ever say that. All right, let's get close to wrapping this up. We got players of the week to get through, and I have some discussion on maybe goaltender of the week because I think it's nonsense. But forward of the week, Sam Colangelo. He had a 5-point night, 4 goals on the weekend plus an assist. Not much to say. I mean, he had a great weekend.
Yeah.
7 points in 4 games. Defenseman of the week, Boston Buckberger from Denver, freshman defenseman. He played against Providence and Boston College.
BC. Yeah.
What did he have? He had a goal plus 1 and 2 assists. 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points on the. 3 points on the night. He now has a goal and 3 assists in 4 games. Rookie of the week, Matthew Perkins from Minnesota Duluth. He went 8 for 16 in the faceoff dot on Saturday. He has 4 points, a goal, and 3 assists in 5 games this year. What did he do this game? He's the first star of the game on Friday, so picked up his first goal of the season. Had a hand in UMD's first 3 goals on Friday. So, goaltender of the week. There's actually 2 of them. Ludwig Pearson from North Dakota and Zach Stacekall from Minnesota Duluth share the honor. I have somewhat skosh of an issue with Ludwig Pearson in person.
Thank you.
Look, I get that he had decent numbers. He had a 9.25 save percentage, stopping 49 or 49 and 53 shots on the weekend. He allowed 2 goals per game average because he allowed 4 in the first game and 1 in the second game, so it's just slightly over 2. Was one an empty net goal? I don't know. Maybe one was an empty netter. I don't know. But either way, look, I have an issue with goalies who have a loss being a goalie of the week. When there's goalies who swept series in and you know, again, I think that there should be something said about opponent and save percentage, goals against average. I think all those should count. But if you lose a game and there are goalies who swept their series, you should be eliminated from discussion. Now, if everybody goes, splits their series, then we can bring your happy ass back in and we'll talk about you for goaltender of the week. But if there's a goalie who has a sweep, he should be the front runner, even if it's a situation like St. Cloud versus St. Thomas year 1. Just saying.
I would not disagree with that. And then I would also even with Stay Skull, yeah, he had a shutout, but then he gave up 4 the next night.
That is slightly my issue with him. I mean,
Like I'm sorry, but
the,
okay, if you get a shutout, that's great. If you give up 1 or 2 the next night, okay. I can understand you being in discussion for that.
because here's the other nominees.
But if you give up 4, come on.
Yeah, here's the other nominees. Matt Davis from Denver, who split the weekend. Caden Emberko from Colorado College, who swept the weekend. And Cameron Rowe from Western Michigan, who swept the weekend. Cameron Rowe gave up 4 goals all weekend. Stay Skull gave up 4 goals in a game. Ludwig gave up 4 goals, potentially 3, but 4 goals on the weekend. Potentially, or no, 5 goals on the weekend. Nope. 4 or 5 goals on the weekend.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5, 3 or 4 in one game. And Berko, I think, gave up 4 goals all weekend, if that. So I think, again, it's all subjective, and I don't know that there's really a criteria to these awards, but when you look at them, there's some argument to be made, and the fact that they picked 2 and neither one of them, really outshined anybody else on the weekend.
Yeah, I think they're looking at the shutout as far as Stay Skull goes.
Yeah, I mean, Emberko gave up 4 goals all weekend too. He gave up 2 a game.
Yeah, and same with Cam.
Yeah.
To me, I would take giving up 2 a game is better than getting a shutout 1 game and giving up 4. That's more worthy of it. But I mean, I guess technically Stay Skull only gave up 2 a game with the shutout. But if you're gonna give up 4 in 1 game, I don't think you're worthy of it. But we've had this discussion before where who they give the awards to is not necessarily worthy of it. It's just
We need to
some intern or something that didn't really watch the game and they just kind of look at the stats like, oh, he got a shutout. Oh, he scored 3 goals over the weekend. Like, let's do that. And, sometimes, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, I should say most of the time, the majority of the time, they are correct. But as far as goalies go,
But when they get it wrong, they get it wrong.
they get it really wrong.
All right. We've been
they,
going at this for about an
they
hour
they
and a
go
half.
full set. They go full Larry and Ticer on the bit, and just we're just gonna send it.
Yeah. We've been going at this for about an hour and a half. We need to wrap this thing up here.
Yeah. Yep.
So a little bit of a long one. You and I need to get together at some point, and we need to nail down our criteria because I'm making an announcement. When conference play starts, we're going to have our own Player of the Week awards for conference play, and we're going to have clear criteria that you're going to be able to see how and why we picked the players that we did for these awards. And it should be pretty clear cut. At least that is my hope. And some of them might be a little bit subjective based on the style of play, but again, I think we'll let you know what the actual criteria is, and hopefully you'll understand the choices we made and agree with us. And if not, yeah, you'll be able to discuss it with us. So, or at least the opportunity to. Now, whether you take possession and use that opportunity is completely up to you, people, who choose or not to choose to do so. So that's coming up here in a couple weeks as we get into conference play. So you and I need to nail that down. And then I also have to figure out something for the other thing that we're going to do on the Twitter page. So check that out from time to time once conference play hits too. Because we got some things coming. We're trying to make this better. Are we? I don't know.
But we'll just say this: we're trying.
Yes, but
is it going to be better? We're not promising anything, but we're attempting.
Yes. So hit the like, hit the subscribe if you want to see those things that we've got in the plans coming up. Also follow us on X or Twitter or whatever the hell they call it. I don't know. The handle for that just went by. The email is going by now. It's goalhornsandfightsongs@gmail.com. It's all the letters of all the words squished together into one sentence with a @gmail.com at the end of it.
It's also the title of Wes's OnlyFans account.
I don't have one of those. Okay. I have Instagram that I barely use. I have 2 Twitter handles that I barely use when it's not hockey season. And really the page just likes a bunch of crap that comes up from any and every sport league that has anything to do with former NCHC players and or the schools. But our personal handles are there. They're below our pictures. That's mine. His is over there somewhere. The pages is going by now. It's GOALHRNFIGHTSNG on Twitter with the little @ before that. There's no O's because we don't like O's in Twitter handles. And really, you can only have so many letters, and I ran out, and I still wanted it to look like I said something, so that's why that is what it is.
Speak for yourself. I do like O's.
I think that is all the things. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, chat in the comment box if you want to. I usually reply to them sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I miss them. I think that's it. I think that's all the things that need to be said.
I think so.
Enjoy what's left of the 16 hockey games that have taken place today in the NHL. They've been fun. There's some NCHC players on some of those teams somewhere. I'm not going to run through them enough. Tomorrow, Hunter Shepard of your Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs is scheduled to get the start for the Washington Capitals against the New Jersey Devils.
Let's go, Shep Daddy.
So that is a thing that should happen. Because the Capitals were getting worked by the Leafs before this pod started.
Shep Daddy's going to be the savior. He is going to make them.
Also, I don't know if you heard it during the Minnesota Wild game, but I definitely heard it. And that is our favorite phrase around here. That's pucks on net. Good things happen, like goal horns and fight songs. Till the next episode. He's been Mike. I've been Wes, and we're gone. Bye.